David Schaffert. I'm the President and CEO of the Thurston County Chamber, and it's really great to have a wonderful turnout today. I'm going to quickly turn it over to my colleagues here from WOBA and the ODA, but I just want to say on behalf of the Chamber, public dialogue on important issues is critical to good decision making. So listen carefully and challenge candidates on their thoughts and beliefs, because it does make a difference as far as public policy and moving forward after the election time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vida. Vida?
Thank you, David. I'm Vida with the Vida Zvirzdys-Farler with the Olympia Downtown Association, and I want to ditto everything that David said. This is wonderful that you're all here, wanting to learn more about all the candidates, so we appreciate you all being here. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jim.
Great. Thank you for all of you for coming tonight. I know it's probably been a long day for many of you, and we appreciate your coming out and joining us and participating in this great event. Olympia is a great town, and we all care about it, and it's wonderful that in a town this size that we can all meet and get the opportunity to actually get to know a little bit about the individual candidates. So that's why you're all here, and I applaud you all for coming. And on such a beautiful day, I'm sure there's other things you've already been doing. But this is an important thing, and we're really glad that you joined us. So I'm going to turn this over to the mic over to the man who probably needs no introduction, Doug Ma, who's going to be our moderator tonight. Most of you know Doug personally. For those of you who don't, he was on the city council for 10 years and mayor for 4 years. Full term. And we're going to start by having the city council candidates and then the port candidates. And Doug's going to tell you all about the format.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So this evening we have, of course, 2 races in the city council that are contested, in addition to the 2 port commission races. We have one race that is a little bit unique because it is a contested race, but one of the candidates has dropped out. And that is a person that is running against Nathaniel Jones. Nathaniel Jones is the incumbent and has served on the Olympia City Council now for 4 years, elected in 2011, is finishing up his first term and running for re-election. And so we'd like to invite Nathaniel to come up and say a few words. You have 3 minutes. Shelby is our timekeeper here, and when the sign says stop, that is your cue to stop before I come down. So, microphone, podium, that'd be great.
Great, thanks much, Doug. Am I on?
Yeah.
I sound on.
Closer.
Closer. Okay. Well, first, thanks to the Chamber, to WOBA, and to the ODA for sponsoring this event. I'm very glad to be here. You have a full agenda tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I really think the meat of the evening is when you hear from folks who are competing for a seat. But just the same, I do want to introduce myself to you. Nathaniel Jones. I've lived in Olympia for about 25 years. Raised my 2 daughters here. They're both 20-somethings at this point. One through the North Thurston School District and one through the Olympia School District. So I feel as though I have some perspective on this community. My wife Kathleen works at Group Health and delivers babies at St. Peter's Hospital. And I'm told she has a much larger constituency than I do, actually. So, currently, I serve as the Mayor Pro Tem of Olympia, and Mayor Buxbaum and I work together to set the agenda for the City Council. I also chair the Community and Economic Revitalization Committee of the Council in that process. I also am the chair of Intercity Transit's Authority Board. In addition, I serve on the city's Finance Committee. I am the city's representative to the Thurston Regional Planning Council, to the Thurston Urban Growth Committee, and I am a board member for Habitat for Humanity. And we are currently building 33 single-family units out in Lacey. There are really 3 messages I want to give you this evening, and they really are sort of a can-do sort of thing. I believe that we can revitalize our community, and at the same time we can help local businesses succeed. I believe we can support our neighborhoods and our neighbors, and at the same time invest in our downtown. And I believe that we can protect the environment at the same time that we grow jobs. And I think that the Olympia economy is on the mend. You know, when I came on the council, businesses were making an exodus from downtown. We have been through a rough time in this community. And I believe we are on the mend. Today I was given a tour of 123 4th. Over here, 138, I believe it is, units. But in the next few months, we will have had 250 market rate housing units become available in downtown Olympia. That is an excellent sign of the times. Now, whatever you think about the Capitol Center building, and whether it should stand, whether it should be redeveloped, whether it should be demolished, the fact that we have an investor who wants to invest millions of dollars in our downtown tells me that Olympia is on the mend. So I think there's good news, and I look forward to continuing to serve on the Olympia City Council. Thanks very much.
Again, Nathaniel is running now essentially unopposed for position 3. And this isn't quite working. So next, we'd like to introduce the 4 Olympia City Council candidates. We have 2 candidates running for mayor. It includes Cheryl Selby, who is currently on the City Council, and I believe it's Marco Rossi, who's back there. Why don't you come on up and join me up here at the dais here. And then also joining in today for position number 2 is Jessica Bates and Judy Barden. Bateman, I'm sorry. That would be a critical error on my part. Jessica Bateman and Judy Barden, who are running for position 2, if you'd like to come up as well. Both Jessica and Judy have served on the Olympia City Council Planning, or Olympia Planning Commission. So here, some of you were asking about the format, and I will update you on the format right now, and I hope that doesn't pop off in the middle. So we will start with 2-minute candidate introductions. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. And then we will have about 6 questions with a 1-minute response to each of the questions. Why don't we go down and draw a number there, and whoever gets number 1 will go first, and then we'll just kind of rotate this way. So this will work out. So who drew number 1? Perfect. So why don't we start with Judy, and again, a 2-minute introduction. Shelby is your timekeeper. When the sign says stop, that's what you're supposed to do.
I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Oh, great.
Okay? Everyone understand? 2 minutes, self-introductions, then we'll get into questions. So, Judy Barden, please.
Can everyone hear me?
No. Closer.
Is there a mic on? Doesn't seem like the mic's on. I could scream, but
Testing.
is there a way to?
Mine's working.
That's not.
Check. Make sure you speak into the mics. Everyone else good?
I don't think these 2 are working.
Oh, mine was.
Yours was? Yeah. Yeah. This is off.
Is that on? Okay.
Minutes up.
Check.
As always, they work before the
Check.
candidates arrive at the podium.
Check.
Thanks, David.
No? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? No. Uh-huh.
Let him share with somebody that's.
Can you just pass Cheryl's?
We can pass.
We
Yeah,
can share.
pass it down.
1, 2, 3.
No, so just share with somebody on the board.
Yeah. This is
We're
Sherwood.
Try
resourceful,
one more
we can
thing.
figure this out.
Almost there. Check. Okay. I get it.
We can share.
Okay. Sorry about that. Hey, Doug, your mic's a little hot.
I have no ability to control that.
No.
Just move it further away.
Try now.
Okay. Is that better? Okay, Judy, our apologies. Please begin your 2 minutes.
So, my name's Judy Barden. I'm running for Olympia City Council, position number 2. And I've spent my life's career in public health. I started that career as a nurse, and I did a variety of nursing, including emergency room and critical care nursing. I then went on and got 2 graduate degrees, first a master's in environmental health, and I followed that with a doctorate. It focused in epidemiology. I came out to the Washington State Department of Health when I finished my graduate work and worked as an epidemiologist for 15 years in environmental health. And I looked at a variety of different issues in the community, including pesticide exposure in farm workers, asthma, wildfires, and then air pollution and health. I did a lot of work around air pollution and health, and also cancer-causing agents in the environment. And that's one reason that I joined City Advisory Committee. I wanted to bring the public health voice to city decision-making. And I started off as the Utility Advisory Committee and then went on to the Planning Commission. Some of my proudest work is working on the comprehensive plan, which was just updated recently, and I actually drafted policies for that plan on sea level rise and urban green space. I've received the exclusive endorsement of 3 environmental groups in town, including the Sierra Club, Thurston Environmental, Voters, and Ecology's 872. So the things that are important to me is increasing citizens' participation in city decision-making, maintaining our quality of life as we grow, and also maintaining a responsible budget that protects what we've already built, sets aside funds for future challenges, and earns the confidence of voters. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jessica Bateman, if you could follow up with your 2-minute self-introduction, please.
Sure. All right, can you hear me? Yes. My name's Jessica Bateman, and I am... My name's Jessica Bateman, and I am running for Olympia City Council because I believe Olympia can be a modern, green, and thriving city, and I have the experience, vision, and values that we need on City Council. Cheryl Sullivan always says to eat the mic. I have experience in state, local government, and the nonprofit sector in social service and public administration. For the last 3.5 years, I served as the legislative aide to State Representative Chris Rakedahl, where I advocated for constituents in Olympia. And I'm in my 3rd week of my brand new job as the Community Impact Director for the United Way of Thurston County, where I get to work with our business partners, our nonprofits, service providers, and elected officials to help improve the lives of citizens living in Thurston County. I earned my graduate degree in public administration from the Evergreen State College, and over the years, I've become increasingly involved in our community. I currently serve on the board of GRUB, our local nonprofit that helps at-risk youth, low-income families, and veterans, and I serve as the finance chair of the Planning Commission. As your council member, I will work to revitalize our downtown, make sure that we have safe and walkable neighborhoods, and strengthen our local economy. In talking with voters over the last 6 months, one topic that continues to come up is our downtown, and I will work with our nonprofits to help get folks into rapid rehousing and advocate at the state level to make sure that they get the mental health funding, mental health services that they deserve. We have an amazing community in Olympia with individuals that give volunteer hours and donate plenty of dollars to nonprofits in our community, but our greatest ambitions for parks, for protecting the most vulnerable, or for having public safety requires a strong local economy. Our tax base relies on the success of our local businesses to ensure that we can provide those core services, and I will partner with our businesses to make sure we have a mutually beneficial relationship that benefits the entire community. It's an honor and a privilege for me to serve this community, and I am excited to continue that service as your council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rossi, if you'd like to do your self-introduction, please.
Can everyone hear this one fine? No. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. My name is Marco Rosero Rossi. I've lived in Olympia and combined total for about 10 years. The reason that I'm running for mayor is I think the city is approaching some major changes in the coming years in terms of growth and in terms of development. And I want to make sure those changes work for everyone here in Olympia. What qualifies me for this position is that I've served on the 3 nonprofits here in Olympia. the Emma Goldman Youth and Homeless Outreach Project, the Cold and Hungry Coalition, and I was an advisory board member for Partners in Prevention of Education. That experience has really tapped me into a lot of unheard voices here in Olympia. In addition to this, I have a graduate's degree in political science, and a master's degree in political science, and I've studied overseas in Costa Rica in human rights. The third point that I think I bring to this campaign, this community, is I try to run a transparent, issue-based campaign because I want people in Olympia to be focused on the real change in substance issues. We are approaching, we're expected to grow 20,000 people in the next 20 years. That could be a crisis for our city. At the same time, it could be a grand opportunity. With those 20,000 people coming, we could invest our city, invest our funds into infrastructure so that we can create new jobs. We can encourage urban density so we can become a more modern, green city that's less reliant on private cars. And we could look at changing our system of government to make one that's more inclusive and participatory by looking at breaking down into districts and making sure that we have citizens advisory committees so we have input from all our citizens. That's the vision I have for the Olympia, and I think as your mayor, I'm confident to bring that vision forward to each and every one of us. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Get really close here.
I'm Cheryl Selby, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Olympia. There's many qualities that make an effective mayor, and I'm going to highlight 3 that I think I have. First of all, I have a proven commitment to our community. I was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest and made a conscious choice to move to Olympia 22 years ago in 1994 with my young family. Since that time, I raised my 2 daughters, K-12 in the public schools, served on numerous nonprofit boards, built a thriving retail business downtown, and worked for the City of Olympia in 2 different positions over different time periods. And now I currently am working hard for you on the Olympia City Council as an elected official. I'm not going anywhere, and in fact, I'm working harder than ever for coming generations so they can raise their families here with the same economic opportunities and quality of life that I've experienced. Secondly, I'll bring a balanced approach to problem solving. As I just spoke to, I've served in just about every segment of our community. That has given me a unique perspective on what challenges and opportunities exist for Olympia. I've also had the opportunity to work with many community leaders and influencers to find creative and positive approaches to our community's challenges. We are a smart, compassionate community, and together we can solve our most urgent social, economic, and environmental issues. To accomplish progress, though, we need to have a mayor with a balanced approach to problem solving, and that's what I'll bring. Lastly, I'll serve with a generous style of leadership. I have a track record of achieving results by working collaboratively as a team. I look at the City Council as just that, another team. The mayor needs to learn what each council member is passionate about, what their wheelhouse is, and then use those individual strengths and interests to create a working body that will be more productive than just a single individual. I look forward to being part of a great team as your mayor in 2016. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So now we'll proceed with the questions. We're going to ask that each candidate respond to the question, and we'll kind of rotate through who starts. You have 1 minute to answer the question, and because we're on a tight time frame, I'd like to ask the audience to refrain from applauding between each candidate as we go. So the first question for Olympia City Council members.
Are we still going to have the timekeeper notify us?
We're still going to have the timekeeper tell?
30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds and stop. Got it? Okay. So the first question, and we'll start with Jessica leading us off, is, and these questions all came from the ODA, WOBA, as well as the Chamber. Question number 1, for everybody to start, and Jessica will lead us off. The perception of downtown Olympia has not always been positive. In a recent survey completed with downtown businesses, the #1 complaint, aside from parking, is the homeless panhandling. Would you be willing to implement a panhandling ordinance in downtown Olympia? Why or why not? 1 minute, go.
I've heard this concern come up in doorbelling over the last 5 months with individuals in our community. And while I recognize we need to acknowledge and be proactive
I
with...
would really like to hear you if you speak directly into the microphone.
Okay, it looks like it's like right there. So I've been talking with voters over the last 6 months, and this issue has come up consistently, so it's no surprise to me that our business community would also express this concern. I think we should have a proactive approach for our homeless individuals by getting them into rapid rehousing, focusing on restoring mental health cuts that our legislature has implemented over the last 5 years, and helping those individuals get the services that they need to be successful. It's much more cost effective to get them into housing and get them the services that they need, because right now we're paying the indirect costs of all the service providers like our firefighters and our police officers that are going on increased walking patrols, and the indirect costs of people not wanting to go downtown. I think it's a legitimate problem that we need to focus on creating a passionate and economic solution for. Thank you.
Marco, would you be willing to implement a panhandling ordinance in downtown Olympia? Why or why not?
The city already has laws on the books to protect citizens against harassment. And I think those laws are adequate. I don't think that we need new laws in the books. I think it's best to look at this question in terms of its underlying issues, is that some people feel concerned about downtown, and businesses want to make sure there's consumers coming downtown to purchase their products. Two ways I think we can handle that, and what I've advocated for, is a safe and inclusive park. Yes, we have to recognize sometimes in the downtown there is antisocial behavior, and that's why focusing on community policing and walking patrol is important. At the same time, we need to have an inclusive side to get people off the street by concentrating social services where people are, and making sure that we use the best practices so that those people can be taken care of. In addition, we should look at it in terms of those issues on long-term planning in the downtown, and realize how focusing density in the downtown, making sure that we have spontaneous community spaces will nurture businesses and create a lively and prosperous downtown.
Thank you. Cheryl, your response, please.
I don't think there's going to be one silver bullet to fix downtown. I think of it as needing silver buckshot, and we're on our way there. I think we don't need one more ordinance on the books. I support the ordinances that are on the books, and I want them to be actually implemented and enforced. Panhandling ordinance, I don't think that's the answer. What I would love to see handled, how it could be handled, is with downtown businesses to hand out compassion cards and give those to their customers, so that when somebody approaches them for money on the street, they can hand them a card that has a list of where the services are, and maybe a little token for a shower at the mission, or some kind of information about where to get those tied into services. So compassion cards is what I would like to have our downtown patrons have with them. I can also speak to the rapid rehousing approach to getting folks that are street dependent rapidly into housing and into services, but there's definitely a population that doesn't qualify for that we need to address.
Great, thank you. Judy, would you be willing to implement a panhandling ordinance in downtown Olympia? Why or why not?
No, I wouldn't. And I favor a lot of the solutions that people have already mentioned. First of all, I've been doorbelling since May, and I've heard this concern about safety. People feel that they're not safe, or that it's not pleasant to come downtown. So I do think it's something we need to address, because there's that perception out there, whether it's real or not. I think that we need to address community concerns. I'd like to see a more regionalized approach. We have the downtown, and so we have more homeless, because in the area we have the downtown. Additionally, I think increasing the police walking patrol would be ideal, and then advocating at the state level for increased funding and ways to do mental health services and also drug and alcohol rehab, because a large percentage of our population downtown can have that type of problem. So.
Great, thank you. Marco, you will lead off on the next question. What are your thoughts on making public restrooms in the heart of downtown a priority? And would you consider budgeting for public restrooms in downtown in lieu of property for parks?
Well, public restrooms in downtown is a major priority in terms of a public health issue. There's two advantages that we have to public restrooms in the downtown. One is that by providing a place where people can go to the bathroom, the office one, provide a place where people can go to the bathroom and freshen up, they don't engage in that area in public. The other one, especially if we're going to take a harm reduction approach to dealing with some of the issues downtown, having places where people can dispose of dangerous substances, especially needles, means that they won't be out public and we put public rest at risk. So I would be in favor of looking at having more public bathrooms downtown. It also means that less people are trying to go into to use private businesses as public bathrooms. In terms of in lieu of the park, I would say it depends. It really depends on the park's proposal and what we have. I definitely think that more downtown bathrooms are needed, but those types of budgetary issues really need to be sit down and talk with a variety of players to find out what are the major priorities for the city. It is a major priority for me, bathrooms downtown.
Cheryl, your response?
Well, I hope this doesn't sound sarcastic or insensitive, but you know what provides everybody with a restroom? A house and a job. So I don't think that by having a very expensive, downtown 24/7, either, it's very expensive to put one of these bathrooms downtown. Either you go with what's called the Portland Loo, which is like $80,000, or you have to have it fully staffed 24/7 and monitored with a security guard. But the chance that we'd be able to put it where it's going to be used is really remote. So I really want to study more about it. I know the Thurston County Public Health Director is very interested in doing a test study downtown. I would support a test of it, but I don't think it's going to solve all the issues with people using our alleys and doorways when they're out late at night.
Okay, thank you. Judy, what are your thoughts on making public restrooms in the heart of downtown a priority? And would you consider budgeting for public restrooms in downtown in lieu of property for parks?
Well, first of all, I come from public health, and I think absolutely, I think it's a public health need. We shouldn't have people urinating or defecating in hallways. And also, it's a human, it's just a human dignity concern. I mean, people should have a place to go to the bathroom. I think we can afford this. We're not a poor city. We afford other things, and we could put something like the Portland Loo near the police station so it could be monitored. And so that's what I have to say about it. And what else? Probably I have a little bit more time. I don't think it's an either or, because if we pass the Metropolitan Parks District, we will have funding for parks that's separated. So I think it's a fallacy to say funding for parks or funding for a bathroom.
Great, thank you. Jessica, your response?
Having a clean, safe downtown is definitely a priority. We want to make sure that when people go shopping, they're not walking by alleys that have been used as restrooms. And I think that it's definitely a priority for us to make sure that we have options for individuals that are downtown. If they're homeless, if they don't have access to a restroom, we need to have places where they can go. And right now, we don't have enough, and we're seeing ramifications of that with more and more individuals that are finding these types of environments outside their stores or on their property fronts. I definitely think that we need to focus on the fact that if individuals do have housing, if they have services, if they're not homeless, they're not going to be using outside as a restroom. And I want to keep promoting rapid rehousing and the programs that we have in the community that can get individuals into housing, because that's the most effective way that we can handle this situation right now. Yeah, thank you.
Great. So the next question, Cheryl will lead us off on. Do you believe that moving the county complex downtown as opposed to focusing on recruiting new businesses to the city would provide a net benefit for the city of Olympia? If so, how?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the second half of that? Is that like an either or?
Do you believe that moving the county complex downtown as opposed to focusing on recruiting new businesses to the city would provide a net benefit for the city of Olympia? If so, how?
I don't think that's an either or. I think we can do both, and we need to do both, and I strongly support working with the county to move the county courthouse downtown, the whole complex, and run it downtown. It's like 700 employees. That would bring the businesses, that will support more new businesses. As well, we've just hired an economic development director who is charged with retaining and recruiting new businesses, and it's working. We are, like tomorrow I'm going on a tour with a company from Seattle that I met at the TEDx Talks 2 weeks ago, and they're looking to relocate their small startup to another location outside of the Seattle because they want a better quality of life for their family. And we're taking them on a tour tomorrow of sites. It's working. It's not an either or. We will have businesses moving downtown. We've got housing. They're going to need support services downtown. I don't understand why the question actually was phrased as an either or, but I'm excited about having both.
Okay, thank you. Judy, do you believe that moving the county complex downtown as opposed to focusing on recruiting new business to the city would provide a net benefit for the city of Olympia? If so, how?
I think, first of all, we have to examine whether we should move the county courthouse downtown. You know, that's an area that has flooding. You can see it's on a wetland. And do we want to put increased infrastructure in the path of sea level rise? That's a question that I would have. Additionally, I think we should be doing everything to support small businesses, and the way we do that is to make Olympia a beautiful place and have really good services and address the homeless issue and make all the amenities that encourage people to want to live here, to have adequate housing of all different income types. So those are the things we should be working on, really setting up good roads and infrastructure, maintaining our infrastructure, finding ways to make the city more sustainable with increased options for biking and active transportation.
Great, thank you. Jessica, your response?
I also don't think that it's an either-or proposition. I am hopeful about the opportunity to have the courthouse downtown. I think it would be a great opportunity to have a tremendous amount of people in the heart of our downtown that could be shopping locally, that could be supporting our local businesses, that could be great for our economic development. I also am very excited about the future, the direction that we're going in. We're focusing on economic development. We have a new economic development director, Renee Sunday, who's focused on recruiting future investment in Olympia, talking to folks about possible business ideas and concepts like Cheryl mentioned earlier. I think that we're going in the right direction, and I don't think that it's an either or proposition. We can have both.
Okay, thank you. And Marco.
The economic benefit of providing public jobs, government jobs in an area like the downtown is that those people end up becoming consumers and they also become residents of that area. That grows a good way of revitalizing downtown. It sort of creates a virtuous circle between the public sector, which almost has guaranteed jobs because it collects taxes, and the private sector, which always needs consumers to draw from. So I think that if we moved the courthouse downtown, it would create a really boost our downtown economy and create sort of a virtuous economic circle here in Olympia. The specifics of where, how, all are things that I think that the council really needs to delve into and examine and make sure that we have adequate participation from the public so that we have a proposal that works for everybody. But in general, moving those jobs close to the downtown core means that we will have a more economically prosperous downtown.
Great, thank you. So Judy, question number 4. Do you believe the current height restrictions allow for sustainable growth to accommodate for the projected population increase in downtown? If not, how would you change that?
Well, first of all, we have lots of areas where we can put height and buildings. We have a lot of vacant lots downtown. There is a proposal, well, a policy in the comp plan for heights and views, which sets a public process to identify landmark views and then draw sight lines to maintain those views. And first we have to implement a public process to identify those views, and I think we should do that, especially as we're getting housing in and buildings in downtown. And that would define how high buildings could go. And we can have the best of both worlds. We can maintain our views for the things that we think are important, like maybe Rainier or the Olympics, and also have height. There's a lot of areas in downtown where we can put higher building and increase the needs for, we want 1/4 of our growth, population growth to go downtown, so there's room for
Thank you.
people.
Jessica, your response?
we know we're going to have 20,000 people move here in the next 20 years, and we want a quarter of them to live in our downtown core. And right now, we've got view corridors, and they are going to be a part of the downtown strategy to review those and to determine where they are. I agree there should be a public participation process in that. But if we want dense and compact downtown, and we want to have people living within a quarter mile of their work, amenities, and being able to go out and spend money in downtown, we're going to have to revisit our height restrictions and determine where we want those view corridors, where they're valuable to us as a community. But we definitely have to revisit the height restrictions because we want a dense, walkable, livable downtown.
Great, thank you. Marco, do you believe the current height restrictions allow for sustainable growth to accommodate for the projected population increase in downtown? If not, how would you change that?
My answer is that it really depends on what type of development model the city is looking for. I think that the city could absorb the 20,000 people and stay within the urban growth area that it has set. But the question is, do we want a city that sets the bar for urban density this high, or do we want to set it for even higher and see what prosperous outcomes we could have for that? The more dense we make our city, the less reliant we have to have on personal cars, which is a great benefit for the environment. More likely people are going to use bicycles and walk. And the more dense we make our city means the more land we have for things that people really appreciate, like public parks. So if we want to have a livable city, even though I think views should be somewhere part of the conversation, we have to say if we're going to have all these other aspects of it, we should start reconsidering how high we have our buildings, because the higher we have it means more land frees up for other activities which make our city more livable.
Thank you. Cheryl, your response.
Thanks. I think before we talk about revisiting the height restrictions, we should look at where we can build within the existing height restrictions. If you look at 1, 2, 3, 4th Avenue, the 7-story building that's behind Olympia, that's within our height restrictions. I think that's a lovely building. I think we could use 4 or 5 more of them, but they don't have to be blocking views. They can be further up into the core. So I don't think we need to worry just yet about changing our height restrictions. You know, we just went through a large Shoreline Master Program update and the comp plan updates, and they talked about, you know, what were acceptable heights, and that was vetted by our community already. So I think that where we're landing right now with height restrictions is a comfortable space, and the downtown strategy will also revisit those types of development patterns and view corridors, and so that will have another public input process with that. So that the downtown strategy will be where the rubber hits the road as far as development in the next 20 years, and height restrictions were part of it, but I think we're fine where we are.
Thank you. So Jessica, question number 5. Currently, there are significant planning efforts in downtown Olympia. Some might be cynical of these efforts given the long history of developing plans with what feels like no tangible results or implementation. Do you believe these efforts are different, and why?
I do. I think these plans are different because we're aware, the city's aware of the frustration that folks have had over the years of plenty of public processes, and this is not unique to Olympia. This is a challenge that governments all over face and deal with, and I think that now our plan to go forward to have a consistent involvement process and really focus on when we ask information of the public, when we ask for input, conveying what we're going to do with that information, how it's going to be incorporated into the future planning efforts, what we're going to do with it. Because I think people are frustrated and tired of giving information and having it go where they perceive it might not go anywhere. So I think going forward, I know it's a value of mine, and I think that we'll continually work to make our public participation process better. And I'm always excited to learn more about what people would like to see for that to happen.
Thank you. Marco, your response?
Before I respond, would you mind just, it seemed like a long question, could you repeat it so I just make sure I answer it adequately?
The question is, currently there are significant planning efforts in downtown Olympia. Some might be cynical of these efforts given the long history of our developing plans with what feels like no tangible results or implementation. Do you believe these efforts are different, and why?
I do think that they are different, but mostly because I think that the conversation around development has changed in Olympia. We have a lack of community consensus on what it means to have good development in a city. And one of the things I think the council should take greater initiative on, and especially I would as mayor, is work to form that consensus so that we can go forward as an entire city rather than just factions fighting out for their own particular view. I think the city, I do think it's different, but I do think the city can do more. I think we need to have an outreach city that makes sure to get, don't expect the public to come to them, because when that happens, usually the same voices get heard over and over again. We need to have a city that's willing to go to the public and go to places that normally aren't heard. Poor people living in apartment complexes, poor people living in the downtown, people who live and shop downtown regularly. Those are the people who need to be part of this conversation.
Cheryl, your response, please.
I think we all have planner fatigue. There are many plans that have been sat on shelves collecting dust for years and years. What I feel is different about this next step in forming a downtown strategy is that it's an implementable strategy with buildable outcomes. We have a vision for downtown. We have, like I said, our comp plan updates, we have our SMP updates. We now have this overlay that tells us what we can support and build where. What we need now is economic modeling that tells us what we can afford to build where, and so that we can attract development that has certainty that what they decide to build can be supported financially. So this downtown strategy that we're about to embark on, and we're very excited about, because we finally have hired an urban design firm of national renown, Makers, and they have worked regionally already. They helped with the revisioning process as well as the greening of Capitol Way process, and so we are very excited for the next steps with Makers.
Judy, do you believe these efforts are different and why?
Well, first, I'd like to say, when we did the comprehensive plan, one thing, we took the downtown plan out of the plan. And the hope was that we would start working on the plan right away. And it's been a couple years and we don't have a downtown plan. So I would like to see us first have a downtown plan before we implement a downtown strategy. Those both would have public processes, but it seems unless you have a plan, it's hard to implement a strategy. Additionally, I agree with Marco that when we have a public process, and it's really one of my major platforms, is that we should have more community involvement. Who are the key informants? Who are the people that are at the table? And I think that's very important because often it's the same suspects that come. So we need to involve the community. Additionally, I don't know, you talk about market forces. We just came out of a recession and
So, Marco, the last question here before we finish up with our close. Olympia's relationship to the port has not always been positive. What type of relationship do you think is needed with the port and why?
Well, there's a lot of common issues that we have with the port. And so what the city needs to do is make sure that there's good communication between the port and the city to address those common issues. One of the main one is economic development. I mean, with the 2,000 people 20,000 people which are coming to the city, we know the port is an engine for economic development. So they're going to be involved in a variety of projects. And so we need to have a good conversation of how that economic development is going to happen around that area. The other one is pertaining to the environment, clean water. I know that some people sometimes get frustrated with the port's environmental record, but I think the port really has taken a lot of leadership in addressing environmental issues that the city could actually learn from. And so I think looking at these common issues that the city has with the port and developing a good relationship so that we can break down some of this antagonism that has built up over the years is really critical to making sure that we have the prosperity for all.
Cheryl, what type of relationship do you think is needed with the port and why?
Well, they're in our city, so it has to be pretty important that we get along with each other and communicate really well with each other. I think that actually has happened in the past, and I look forward to making sure that happens going forward. There's no way you can make any kinds of plans in downtown without considering what's happening at the port. So they are updating, I believe, some of their comprehensive planning, and we want to be a part of that, and we want to have them be a part of our downtown strategy. I think that we have a lot of shared values, mostly around economic development, but also what's the right kind of economic development for our community. I look forward to talking about possible agricultural partnerships, food hubs, working with the port to find a way to move towards more sustainable, environmental friendly types of cargo. I get really excited about the partnerships going forward, and as we know, it's all about relationships, and I think I have good relationships with the folks at the port, and I think that's a good sign.
So Judy, what type of relationship do you think is needed with the port and why?
I think we should be working closely with the port, and I would like to see us have common economic goals. I would especially like to see more sustainable industries at the port, including agriculture, and maybe some small businesses. Make it a little bit, it'd be really nice to have more small shops. Additionally, we have the issue of sea level rise, and because the port is right in the face of that, I think we should be working with the port on that issue and how we're going to be addressing that. So, sustainable industries, we do have control of zoning over the port, so that's how the city can put its influence forward. And we just finished a shoreline management plan, and we should be working for goals that are, I have to stop, thanks.
Jessica, the last word on what type of relationship do you think is needed with the port and why?
We have a lot of shared values with the Port of Olympia and their role as an economic hub in our community. They provide a lot of good family wage jobs. I think we should have some input into sustainable economic development, the products that they're using and importing. I would love to see them be a part of the downtown strategy and have a positive working relationship so we can focus on where our values join and where we can work together to make a positive impact on our community. I'm also aware of some of the great leadership that they've exemplified with some environmental remediation in our community. So I do agree that they are a great value to our community and that we need to work together to make sure that the business that they conduct reflects the values that we have and is good for the environment as well as the economy.
Great, thank you. So before we get to the 1 minute close, I'm going to pass out cards, if each candidate can take one. This is the much dreaded lightning round. Hated by candidates, loved by audiences. On one side is a yes paddle, on the other side is a no paddle. You will be voting, it will be quick. So, just to try, do you believe we are in downtown Olympia? Very good. Okay, so we have a list of questions here for the lightning round before we move to your 1 minute close. You all saw how it works. Yes on one side, no on the other side. Question number 1. Does Olympia engage in excess amount of process? Question number 2, does having frequent extended public meetings actually result in more inclusive process? Question 3, do you think the low voter turnout in most recent elections is indicative of citizen apathy? Number 4, should maximum building heights in downtown be raised? Number 6, would a $15 minimum wage have a positive impact on Olympia's economy, specifically its local businesses? Number 7, should Olympia buy and bank more parks land? Number 8, has the artesian well park been a total failure?
Not a total.
Number 9, will sea level rise be a significant factor in your decision making during your term in office? Number 10, should the City Council invest significant energy and funds on improving parking in downtown Olympia? Skipping over, do you think the Capitol Tower building located on the Isthmus should be turned into a park? Number 16, should Olympia annex the remaining UGA? Are you guys being quick? You're not being quick, you're not answering? Flip-flop, no flip-flopping, yes or no, yes or no?
What was the question?
I'll slow the question, there'll be a slow rolling thunder instead of lightning. Should Olympia annex the remaining UGA? Would more assertive law enforcement improve the business climate in downtown Olympia?
What's assertive?
Is the OPD currently patrolling the Olympia's parks enough? Should Olympia consider some form of rent control or rent stabilization? Should the lake be converted to an estuary? Lightning here. Should the city council be promoting development in Olympia? And here's the most interesting one, I think. Do you think cyclists should be paying a license tab fee? Okay. With that, we will now have each candidate do a 1-minute close, and Shelby is again your timekeeper. Shelby.
Whoever you are.
Oh, Shelby.
Shelby, not Shelby. Just all messed up here. So 1 minute close, and Cheryl, you will start.
Right. I first ran for public office 2 years ago. I'm still kind of a newcomer to politics. In 2013, my team knocked on thousands of doors. We listened and we won your vote. This year, my team has knocked on thousands more. And what we're hearing is that people are tired of this us versus them dynamic. It's not really a dynamic. It's more like being stuck. The community is hungry for leadership that can move our town into the next decades with a healthy balance of priorities. For me, that's people, planet, and prosperity. It's like a three-legged stool. You need them all in balance. So the first leg is people. We have to address our most urgent societal needs. Second, planet. We need to continue addressing environmental sustainability. Third, prosperity. Economic vitality. What does that look like and how do we get there? All these legs have to be in balance to have a healthy foundation for our future. In the last 22 years, I've seen great accomplishments by the city government, but I've seen missed opportunities. And I think that's because we've gotten out of balance. For more information on my campaign, please check out electcherylselby.com and check out my endorsements as well. Thank you.
Judy, your 1 minute closing, please.
So, we're so fortunate. We're the capital city. We have this beautiful, amazing setting with views of the Olympics, Rainier, and Puget Sound. As we expand into the 21st century, we need to design our cities to meet the needs of citizens and also to be sustainable. So these should be really our top priority. I have a history of working in public health and collaborating on a federal, state, and local level with partners. I also have a long history of working with patients and family. I'm very hardworking. I pay attention to detail, but I can also look at the big picture when I make decisions. So I will work hard if I become your next city council member. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak before you tonight and for your inquisitiveness and engagement. Like I said before, I'm running for Olympia City Council because I'm really excited about the future of our city, and I want to make sure that it's modern, green, and thriving. My work over the years with diverse stakeholders in the community has really illustrated the necessity of working collaboratively together, united by our common goals, and I will carry that spirit of collaboration with me as I serve on City Council. I'm so proud to have so much support in this community. We've knocked on over 5,000 doors since May, and we've had incredible support from individuals and elected officials. I'm proud to have the endorsement of State Representatives Chris Reichdahl and Sam Hunt, as well as City Council Member of Olympia, Jim Cooper. It's truly an honor for me to serve this community, and I'm excited to continue that service. If you'd like to learn more about me, or sign up to volunteer, or go doorbelling, please go to www.electjessicabateman.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Marco, the last word.
There is a quote by former Senator Paul Wellstone, which I really think encapsulates my approach to Olympia. And it is this: when we all do better, we all do better. I really believe that is true for this city, and I think that as an elected official, I'll try to embody that as much as I can. The reason I run for office is because I want to include people who I think have traditionally been excluded from Olympia. And if elected, I will live up to that thing as best as my ability. Now we are, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are approaching some dramatic changes here in the city. But these all are great opportunities to become a better city. A city that I think none of us knew that we could be. We could be a city that marriages economic prosperity and ecological sustainability. And we could be a city that has new systems of government and new systems of cooperation that we didn't know that we were able to utilize. I want to be a forefront at that process, and I want all of you to come along with me. If you want to find out more, you can visit olympiaforall.org.
Great, thank you. Let's give a round of applause to the Olympia. Yeah, we did a great job. The lightning round we have to work on, but we'll do that next time. The other thing, we'd like to thank TCTV, which is here this evening filming. They filmed both the city council candidates, in addition to Nathaniel Jones' comments, and then they will also be here filming the court commissioner candidate forum. And so with that, we'd like to start off our forum with the court commissioner candidates. And we have two positions up on the three-member board that make up the court commission. The first position is for District Number 1. This is a full term. It includes Commissioner Barner, who is the incumbent. George, wave your hand. And Joe Downing, the challenger, for position number 1. And then also for position number 3, or District Number 3, we have a unique situation where we have members running to fill out the remainder of former Commissioner Benn's term. So it is a 2-year term as opposed to a 4-year term that we're running for in District Number 1. So with us, we have E.J. Zita and Jerry Farmer. And so what I'd like you to do is pick a piece of paper here.
I don't actually get to pick since that's the last one. So I just want to clarify.
And again, just like we did for the city council members, whoever drew number 1 will start with a 2-minute self-introduction of themselves, and then following that, once everyone is done, we will go on to questions proposed by the West Olympia Business Association, the Thurston County Chamber, and the Olympia Downtown Association. So who drew number 1?
Doug, is this a 1 or is this a stylized D?
Looks like
One,
it
D, and all
Looks
kinds
like
of
it was.
things.
Since we didn't volunteer.
You will start. Please, a 2-minute introduction. Again, Shelby will be here. Shelby will be here. Go.
The most important thing the Port of Olympia can do is create jobs in our community, living wage jobs. Fully employed families shop at local businesses, contribute to local charities, and can afford to buy homes and spend money to generate retail taxes, which can be used to supplement state budgets, city budgets, pay teachers, pay civil servants. It's all a great thing. The port is the biggest economic driver in our area. Nearly 7,200 jobs trace back to port decisions. In 2009, $350 million in total wages were paid to induced, indirect, and direct jobs from the port. $1.1 billion in revenue, $439 million in local purchases, and $31.2 million in state and local taxes. 83% of the jobs, direct jobs, are held by residents of Thurston County, which must be why a recent survey conducted by Elway Research determined that 8 out of 10 people in our county have a positive feeling about the port. You know, nearly, as I said before, those jobs trace back to the port. The Olympia Farmers Market, the Hands-On Children's Museum, the Swantown Marina are a reality today thanks to community partnerships with the port. We must do more. We must continue to protect the environment and the unique qualities that make our area special while creating jobs. I'm a small business owner. I volunteer in our community. I help charities raise money, and I serve on transportation, tourism, and planning committees. I'm committed to improving our quality of life through economic and environmental sustainability. I'll advocate for financial responsibility, environmental cleanup, supporting new businesses, and most of all, creating jobs. I will work with you to create a shared vision for our port. I'm Jerry Farmer, and I ask for your vote for our Port Commissioner.
Great, thank you. EJ, 2 minutes.
My name is, testing?
Just turned it off.
Turn it on, yeah. Testing. My name is EJ Zita, and I'm running for the Port of Olympia because business as usual is not working, and I have a better way. Managing $300 million in public resources, the port should produce about $20 million per year for Thurston County, not lose money. This year, it canceled $13.5 million in projects because international cargo shipping is not meeting expectations. At $14 million per year in budget, they're ordinarily losing $2 million a year, and the couple dozen direct jobs that the port ordinarily provides, the longshoremen this year have been running up and down the coast looking for an alternative because the fracking sands and the logs have not been moving. Now, I've been working for over a decade to improve port operations. As president of Salmon Creek Basin Neighborhood Association, I was appointed to the port's advisory committee for new economic development, where I advocate for sustainable economic development, financial responsibility, and improved planning processes. My partner and I have operated 2 successful businesses in the Olympia area for 20 years. We farm in the South County, and I chair Thurston County's Agriculture Committee. I earned a PhD in physics, worked in industry and national labs, and am tenured at Evergreen. I know how to listen, analyze, communicate, and get the job done. Economic opportunities that can help turn the port around include incubator hubs with local businesses, mixed-use developments with shops, housing, and recreation at Marine Terminal and the airport, brewery redevelopment with Tumwater, renewable energy for good jobs and clean air, a farm-to-market center, and more ideas. Thank you. I'm Zita for the port.
Great, thank you. Joe, your 2-minute self-introduction.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'm Joe Downing, running for District 1 Port Commissioner. I've always wanted to work for the port, ever since my wife and I moved to town 9 years ago. I'm excited about the port. It's an economic development jewel in this county. I promise to totally support the port and all of its 5 missions, from the airport to the marine terminal. I've got the right experience for the job, master's in business, 20 years in private industry working in transportation, logistics, 9 years working for the state as a financial examiner. Lastly, I spent 6 years on the Port of Olympia Advisory Committee, getting to know the port and its issues. So I feel like I'm already there. I've met with various staff to understand the port even more. What will I do when I get in office? I'll diversify the cargo to prevent those economic downturns, so we smooth out the shipping revenue, which is the main component of the port. And that's going to free up money for other economic development that creates jobs, that brings more jobs, more businesses to our great city and county. I want to infill some of those vacant properties. I was one of the first folks to come on board with the food system development idea, so I'm proud of that, and I want to work towards that end. Why you want me to be your port commissioner is because I'm going to bring that vitality to the port. I'm going to pay attention to all 5 business segments. Because of my background in business and working for the state, when I see a project in front of me, I focus in on it, and I make sure that the proper analysis is done before we go off and spend millions of your dollars. So that's an important thing. And secondly, I'm going to take the environmental considerations to heart and make the port a role model for environmental protection, lower the carbon footprint, solar power, you name it. The port can be a role model for the entire county. So thank you for your support. I'm Joe Downing, running for Port Commissioner, District 1.
Great, thank you. George, your 2-minute self-introduction, please. Yeah, we're just going in order.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank the Downtown Association, the Chamber, for sponsoring this event, and the West Olympia Business Association. I'm really pleased to have a chance to visit with you tonight. I want to tell you that I had 16 years in the courthouse as a county commissioner, where I learned about long-range planning and the importance of that.
I want to say that I think that the Port of Olympia is a fine organization. We have a great group of professional people. Actually, the port commissioners don't select the cargo. We just hired a brand new marine terminal director who's just, all he has left to do is his dissertation to have a doctorate in international trade. And that's what the Port of Olympia is. It's a terminal for international trade. We are using the shipping cargo ships from international companies and transporting cargo to and from Olympia. We're shipping logs to the Asian market, and we've been bringing China sand in for the Bakken oil fields. The reason for the $13 million in cutbacks is because we're responsive to the international situation as we see it. So if we don't tighten our belt, we'd be in some real deep doo-doo. So I just want you to know that we took that decision to reduce our budget by $13 million, which means we're going to end up at the end of this year with $9 million instead of $5 million in our bank. So we're doing business in a responsible, sound manner, and I want to continue to do that. So I hope that you will listen tonight to the answers that we give you, and I thank you again for being here.
Great, thank you. So I have a question of the audience. Was there just one microphone that was working better than the other one? Or were they both equally working well? Okay, everything's good?
Jerry's
not good. Jerry's isn't good? So maybe, Jerry, you can share with the EJ on that one microphone.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, next we have 7 questions proposed by WOBA, ODA, and the Chamber. I'd like to start with EJ. And the first question is, EJ, the Port has significant authority and powers to facilitate economic development. What new opportunities do you believe the Port should examine in economic development? Within the answer, include how private sector investment will be leveraged. You have 1 minute, go.
Great, so I mentioned some of my ideas for new economic development opportunities. On the Port of Olympia's New Market Economic Development Committee that I'm serving on right now, some of the things that we're focusing on are mixed-use development. This includes homes, shops, clinics, and support activities. This includes parks and recreation. We can do mixed-use development at the marine terminal and near the airport, which the Port also manages, where we can partner with the city of Tumwater, which also has a vision for mixed-use development. This can employ a lot of people. It can provide housing and services for the influx of population that Thurston County expects in the next generation. And we can also develop a farm-to-market center. It could be in the airport area or in the marine terminal area. We should also be doing a brewery redevelopment with Tumwater. Thank you.
So, Joe, the Port has significant authority and powers to facilitate economic development. What new opportunities do you believe the Port should examine in economic development? Within the answer, include how private sector investment will be leveraged.
The Port, a lot of people don't know, but the Port actually is comprised of 1,800 acres. The shipping terminal is only 66 acres. So there's a lot of land in different places throughout the county that the Port owns. And that land needs to be, we need to attract new businesses to that land. No sense having empty land or fenced off land or land that creates problems just by being vacant. So we want to work hard to bring in new businesses. And with my economics background, I believe that there is a market rate for each piece of property. So what can we do there? So I want to partner with the city and with the county, especially as Zita mentioned in the food systems arena. How can we use that land to help small farmers? Because the Port belongs to the whole county. So that would be one of my first orders of business, is to figure out that food system development. What can we do to bring that home and partner with small businesses to get that accomplished? That's something that, again, the Port belongs to the whole county. We want to emphasize that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, George. Your response.
Thank you. Economic development is an interesting game. I'm interested in new business as well. I'd like to see the port purchase some small parcels in South County, all across the county, to act as incubators for new organic farmers. It's a fledgling and burgeoning industry, and we have to support it. So I want to be able to provide opportunity for those organic farmers to get started. We're looking at doing business in Olympia and Lacey, as well as Tumwater. We have the new Market Industrial Campus underway, but Lacey is not on the map at this point. But about a month ago, I talked to one of the council members, and we decided we were going to get some discussions going. So I asked Mr. Reed, who's our business development manager for the port, to contact Mr. Walk, who's there in charge of development for the city of Lacey, and we're going to have a meeting and talk about it.
Thank you. Jerry, your response.
Yeah, I definitely think the food hub is a great idea, a food storage facility and a commercial refrigeration that could help South County farmers make their products available year-round rather than just a short growing season. But I also think there are other good ideas that the port can do. One is a marine fuel dock. I think it would be lovely to have a marine fuel dock at the south end of the sound so that all those boats don't have to motor out so far all the time and burn up all those cause all those greenhouse gases to get out there and create trouble for our environment. Also, I would like to see a hotel and convention center downtown in port property so that we can make downtown into a 24-hour downtown. I think that that's a main solution for making sure that downtown can thrive, is if we get people down there 24 hours a day. And lastly, I'd like to see some of that airport property be formed into what I would call a green development zone, where we could work with the EDC to figure out ways to incentivize green businesses, green solutions, and green manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, we start off the next question. What new businesses or industries would you attract to port properties and how?
That builds on the last question. I agree with Jerry that fuel dock is very important. I've been an advocate of that for a while now for two reasons. One is tourism. Tourism is just an excellent way to bolster the economy. You bring people to town, they spend money here, they leave. It's a great combination, plus it's environmentally friendly. So that's very important. Secondly, when I ride my bicycle around downtown, sometimes I do it for inspiration, just riding around the port properties, and I see vacant buildings, perfectly good business opportunities for folks, and they're sitting vacant. So once again, you need the right kind of financial person to help bring together supply and demand over those properties. I just can't stand to see those empty properties down near the water. And any other kind of water-related businesses, restaurants, galleries along the water. I'm very passionate about improving the look of Bud Inlet, all the way around the water, clear over to West Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. George, what new businesses or industries could you attract to port properties and how?
Well, I really am interested in first updating our strategic plan for the port. We have a document that's going to be under review that will give us decisions till 2025. And we have to set goals that will guarantee success in environmental and economic development successes. So I don't know that I can't tell you what those businesses will be, but I'm intent on getting that plan updated so that it will provide us with a guideline so we can make good, solid, positive decisions that will result in beneficial businesses being brought to Olympia. That's what I want to do.
Thank you. Jerry, what new businesses or industries could you attract to port properties and how?
Well, I talked about some new businesses in my last go-around, so what I'd like to say now is, excuse me for the interference there, what I'd like to say now is how we would bring that about, and I think we can bring that about two ways. One, more aggressive marketing of the port. The port does a lot of really, really great things. What they don't do so well at this point, apparently, is getting the message out about all the really, really great things that they do. When I first moved here back in '72, it was a cesspit down in the port there, and now it's just absolutely the gem of the South Sound. So what we need to do is we need to work together with the Thurston Chamber, we need to work together with the ODA, with WOVA, with the EDC, and these local organizations that are already invested in our community community, these stakeholders, and work together to bring people down to the port and bring businesses down to the port to help us all out.
Great, thank you. EJ, what new businesses or industries could you attract to the port properties and how?
I completely agree with George that we need to finish the strategic planning process before we undertake any major new buildings, and we need to do a climate action plan. The City of Olympia is a leader in climate action planning, and they have identified that much of the downtown area will be vulnerable to sea level rise of up to 1 meter in the next century. The Port of Olympia is especially vulnerable to this. So before we start building a convention center, let's know whether it's going to get flooded out. Renewable energy is a great opportunity, an economic development opportunity for the port. I am developing renewable energy installations for the Evergreen State College. I've installed them on our own properties, and we're making money on them right now. There are federal, state, and private grants available, and these create jobs for installation, and they create jobs for the long term. Good-paying, high-tech jobs. They create energy, and they help clean the air. Renewable energy installations on a large scale at the marine terminal and the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. George, you'll start us off with question number 3. What role do you believe the port plays in the Olympia economy, and what more can the port do to help Olympia to improve its economy?
Thank you very much. I'm really excited. For 2 years, we've been writing letters to American cruise lines in Connecticut. They bring in 2,000 or 3,000 people into Seattle every month on a huge cruise ship, and they go wandering around Seattle. We said, listen, come on down to Olympia. We'll take you for a tour. We take your passengers, give them maybe a 50 or 100 at a time. Bring them down to Olympia on the Argosy cruise ships. They had 1,500 person yachts. Bring them down here. We'll give them a tour of the Capitol. Take them to Wolf Haven. Take them on the Bountiful Byway through Thurston County, showing them where the distilleries, the wineries, and the craft brewers are being built. Bring them back here. Bring them to the farmers market. Spend the night here. Get a night's lodging out of them. Next day they can go shopping, have breakfast in our restaurants, spend some money, and leave. That makes sense to me as a way to foster a healthy business climate in Olympia. There's a no-brainer there.
So, Jerry, what role do you believe the port plays in the Olympia economy, and what more can the port do to help Olympia to improve its economy?
Well, you know, one of the things, of course, the port does is by investing in economic development and creating jobs, it provides more retail taxes for our tax base. But also, you know, the Port of Olympia has done a wonderful job about making areas available that are tourist attractions. As I said before, you know, port decisions that involve the Hands-On Children's Museum, the Olympia Farmers Market, but even something like the Port Plaza, where we have great events going on year-round where people come. And one of the things that's kind of interesting that I would just little diversion there. I was at one meeting and people said, well, how do you justify all that big log yard with the Port Plaza and all those touristy things? I said, you know, I look at that viewing tower by the Port Plaza there, and 9 times out of 10, people up in that viewing tower are looking at that logging operation happening, because that is a fascinating thing to a lot of tourists. So let's just say tourism is really the nexus where Olympia and the Port of Olympia can come together to bring even more money into our downtown core.
Thank you. EJ, your response?
Olympia is in a beautiful location on the Sound. We have some prime shoreline that's managed by the Port of Olympia. People would love to have more access to the shoreline for parks and recreation. This could be a great economic draw for tourism and for transit. People have talked about the possibility of ferries. We have gridlock trying to get up to Tacoma and Seattle on the highway. Could ferries be part of the solution? Transit is also an option with South Sound Transit. South Sound Transit could come, there has been an obstacle with South Sound Transit to come through Fort Lewis. That obstacle has now been removed with some rezoning. Could South Sound Transit come all the way down through to Olympia, to the port? One of the port's missions is to facilitate transit by land, air, and sea. The port can be a partner in helping solve some of our transit problems and combining this with tourism. Thurston Regional Planning Commission is the lead agency, and we can cooperate with them on these plans.
Thank you. Joe, what role do you believe the port plays in the Olympia economy, and what more can the port do to help Olympia to improve its economy?
I'm so happy to say that the prospective mayor of, future mayor of Olympia, Cheryl Selby, has endorsed my campaign, and she did that because she believes that that I as port commissioner and the other port commissioners will partner with the city to solve local problems. There are overlapping problems such as the isthmus, the waterfront, Capitol Lake. There's a lot of things that we should talk about. And once we solve some of those problems, then we can see economic development move forward. Once again, I go back to, and Commissioner Varner mentioned the strategic plan, and I'd like to point out, some of the differences between us, but, they don't even actually have a mandate in there to broaden their marine terminal to help cover their expenses. And so, that's again why you need to have the right person in there to create the right priorities. First comes a self-sufficient port, then comes better relationships with the city and the county to create economic development, which creates jobs.
So Jerry, question number 4. The East Bay properties have tremendous opportunities. What is your vision?
I would really like to see the development of a marine village in Swantown, where we could have more retail down there, walkable retail certainly. The port has put in a lovely walkable trail going around most of the peninsula, all the way out to there's another radio station out there, I forget their name. And it's a great walk. They worked with the Audubon Society to put up birdhouses there so that people could enjoy that walk more. I would love to see a marina village spring up where there are retailers, where there are restaurants, where there are people that go down there. So not just people coming in boats could go down there, but people coming from downtown could get a refreshing and different way to shop and enjoy themselves.
Thank you. EJ, the East Bay properties have tremendous opportunities. What is your vision?
So what Jerry's describing as a marina village is consistent with my vision of mixed-use development in the marine terminal area and in the Tumwater Newmarket area. We should also have combined this with renewable energy everywhere we can put it, and bike lanes and bike paths. We want to make the area walkable, bikeable. We want to make it accessible for all forms of recreation. We want to have safe places for families and recreation to enjoy the natural areas that the port manages. We want to make as much of our beautiful shoreline accessible and enjoyable and economically productive and ecologically preserved as possible.
Great. Thank you. Joe, your vision for the East Bay properties.
The East Bay is one of the prettiest parts of town and also part of the port ownership. Out on the end of the point, there's a potential for a small park where folks can go enjoy the water. You don't have to worry about height restrictions, vision corridors. You can be right there next to the water. And I'm talking about the asphalt area to the east of KGY. Beautiful, beautiful location. So I'd like citizens just to be able to take their families, go down there and enjoy that. Also, signage is important. We've traveled to other places, my wife and I, and you need to know when you're on port property, and you need to know where the trail is, and little things like that that make it just so much more friendly to folks. With that fuel dock, you want to promote other businesses, because once that fuel dock is in, then you're going to have a lot more tourism to the area. So businesses along that East Bay for some of those small parcels, or even maybe I know my opponent here talks about a trolley, but sometimes, maybe even just a small bus back and forth to downtown.
Okay,
Thank you.
George, your vision for the East Bay properties, please.
Thank you. I've thought a lot about this. I've spoken with Michael Strube, who is the executive director of Lot Alliance, and he has a highly technical, one of the best up-to-date laboratories in South Sound, probably around this whole area. And we've talked about the possibility of biotech research happening right there. There are many people who are involved in biotech research in the county, Angela Bowen and the like, who would be willing to come down there, I think, and set up shop, build some buildings, and provide the opportunity for our South Puget Sound Community College, Evergreen, and St. Martin's to have college students being involved in biotech research right there on the waterfront. It makes a lot of sense, it's high tech, and it's our future. We need to get serious about it, and we can do that. I really believe it.
Great, thank you. So, EJ, you will start us off on question number 5. What kind of support will you give to encourage tourism cruise lines in Olympia?
Well, tourism seems to be a theme tonight. I don't think that big cruise lines would be appropriate down in the South Sound, but small visits would be great. Kayaks, we have a lot of kayaking down here. The more we can do non-motorized recreation in the South Sound, the better, because we do have a problem with low oxygen in our water, and we don't want to contribute to additional air pollution or water pollution. So I would love to see high-speed visits. I'd like to see non-motorized visit, and I'd like to see small visits.
Great. Thank you. Joe, what kind of support will you give to encourage tourism and cruise lines in Olympia?
It's pretty fascinating as we look forward to the I-5 corridor. Here we are, Olympia. We're part of the south end of a megalopolis that stretches to up north of Seattle. So the idea of moving folks by water is pretty intriguing. You know, that bears some study. Certainly, if the commissioner's idea about a cruise line would come to pass, I mean, you know, that would be exciting. I mean, we could even partner with the Washington State Ferry System, for example, for ferry service down this direction. But getting back to tourism development, one idea I have, which is pretty unique, is partnering with Kenmore Air and trying to get Kenmore Air to use Olympia Airport as a jumping off point to the northwest. And that again would bring in a lot of tourism dollars, having those folks stop here before their trip to vacation land up north.
Great. George, what kind of support will you give to encourage tourism cruise lines in Olympia?
I'm 100% behind that. I think we understand that they're going to be coming to Olympia in the next few weeks perhaps to do a familiarization tour with our community, so they'll be aware of what it is they want to share with the people that will be coming on their cruise ships from America Cruise Lines into Seattle, and they'll be prepared to provide that side trip to Olympia. I think the waterfront could be a host. The business community is going to be putting on the dog for them, giving them the very best welcome they can give them. And I think it's going to be a positive conclusion that they're going to include us on their tour route. So I think we're in good shape on tourism for cruise ships.
Great, thank you. Jerry?
A couple of years ago, when this process first started, the port sent out a letter to all of us in leadership positions in the stakeholders in the county. So as president of the ODA at that time, I signed on to that letter. The Thurston Chamber did it as well, the EDC, the Lacey Chamber. And the whole point of the letter was to invite these people down to our community and prove to them that our organizations, our stakeholders as a whole, were behind this process of having them come to our area. Those stakeholders need to continue to be involved because we really do, as George so eloquently put it, need to put on the dog for these people so that when they come here, they will feel welcome, and we can get these organizations to join in the marketing effort and join in the sprucing up effort, if you will, to make the cruise ship passengers feel welcome and want to come back.
Thank you. Joe, you will start us off with question number 6. And I'm going to read it verbatim. If the port does away with the shipping and relies solely on produce being exported, how would that affect the port's revenue?
Solely on what being exported?
Produce. That question is not within the realm of my personal reality. The port was founded in, I believe, 1922, and I hope to be your port commissioner when it turns 100 years in 2022. So I'm excited about the shipping business at the port. I've talked to some of the shipping managers here at the port. I mean, the port has quite a bit of potential. It's just untapped potential. So I do not believe we can, narrow our focus to pineapples from Hawaii, as somebody has suggested, or, wheat to Russia. I mean, there's many, many, many good products that we can find to ship in and out of that port, including perhaps back and forth to Alaska, because assuming those are smaller ships that create that commerce. So that's my goal, is to have the port marine terminal running strong as it approaches its 100th year. Thank you.
George, if the port does away with the shipping and relies solely on produce being exported, how would that affect the port's revenue?
Well, it would really affect the port's revenue because the propans that we've been handling that have been shipped from China to here, and then we take them off the ship, put them on a train, and they go out of Olympia to North Dakota. It's about a $3 million increase in the port's budget in handling propans. International trade is still strong. We're an international trade port. That's been our history. When I longshored down here in the 50s, we were loading lumber and logs. It's still happening. It's not going to go away. Weyerhaeuser continues to grow logs like all of us grow lawns. And so let's take advantage of that industry. It's here. It's part of America, part of the Northwest, and we can keep it going. So I don't see it stopping. I'm interested in trying to diversify. We have a lobbyist in D.C. that we're asking to tell the Congress to reinstate the tax credit for wind turbines.
So Jerry, if the port does away with the shipping and relies solely on produce being exported, how would that affect the port's revenue?
Well, I think it would affect it negatively. You know, there's no doubt about the $14 million or so that's generated in revenues that are going through the port in international shipping right now. I love our county. I love our county farmers. I think they do a fantastic job. But most county farmers are fairly small, and there really isn't the quantity of produce necessary that could bring the kind of revenues necessary to the port. Also, most of the produce, if it were shipped, would have to be shipped in containers. We're not really a container port. We're a niche break bulk port. We need to find other sorts of products that we can ship that other people can't ship, and do it in an effective and economic manner. Thanks.
I'm not sure I quite understand the question, because if we're shipping produce, we are shipping it. So we're not stopping shipping. But right now, the shipping that we're doing is not making money. It is costing money. We've got a warehouse full of fracking sands that haven't gone anywhere this summer because nobody wants to buy them. Our logs have been sitting there because Asians don't want to buy them. And if we were to ship lumber instead of logs, it would create more local jobs. But whatever we ship, we need to dredge. And dredging costs millions of dollars a year, and it stirs up dioxin-laden sediments in the port. If we're shipping logs, we also need this expensive treatment facility to reoxygenate the water. So shipping is costing a lot of money. Are there other things that we can do that won't cost that much money, that will bring in more money? I've given some ideas.
So George, you have question number 7. You'll start us off. Should the marine terminal be closed and the property sold or redeveloped for other uses in the near term?
Absolutely not. I think the port terminal is a strong player. You may not know it, but 2011, 12, 13, and 14, 4 years, was the highest in the 90 years of the port's history in the revenues that we've generated and brought to our community. I'm not going to turn that thing off and say, no, let's not do that. I want to continue to operate, provide the longshoremen with working jobs, family wage jobs, be able to build on our community, build on our industries, supply, depending on what it is we want to do. We don't know. We've asked our new marine terminal director to go out. He's in touch with six trading companies and cargo forwarders, and he is going to be giving us a list of the possible opportunities that we can look at to want to diversify in what direction we want to go. So that's the future.
Jerry, should the marine terminal be closed and the property sold or redeveloped for other uses in the near term?
Absolutely not. We're one of 6 deep water ports in the entire Puget Sound. If we ever give that up, we are never, ever going to get it back. What the port is doing right now is making some very good business adjustments to some international issues that were not entirely expected. They are doing good as a business in that respect. You know, it's very, very easy to set a budget and use that budget as a roadmap, but a good business is a business that can take advantage of the situation when a tree falls across the road, and the port is doing that right now. So as far as milled lumber is concerned, that would be really great, except for all milled lumber is shipped in containers. We are not a container port. Plus, there are no metric mills in our area. In fact, the only mill in Thurston County does pilings, so it would be probably not something that would be possible to do, although, again, the idea is nice. I think that the port will continue to be an international port and be an economic driver. Remember, an economic driver is something that brings outside dollars into the community to help fuel the community's economy.
EJ, your response, please.
Will you repeat the question, please?
Should the marine terminal be closed and the property sold or redeveloped for other uses in the near term?
No, the marine terminal should not be closed in the near term. We should finish our strategic plan, we should do a climate action plan, and we should look at why international cargo shipping is not working at the port. Why did we have to cut our expenditures by $13.5 million this year? Why did we spend $8 million on a crane that's never been used? Why did we have to spend an $11.5 million to repair the damage done by log dust and log bark? Why isn't it working, and what can we do better? For this, we need planning, and we need a better planning process. We need to involve the local experts. We have a lot of great, smart people in this area. We need to work with the City of Olympia, the City of Tumwater. We need to work with Thurston County and Thurston Regional Planning Commission to figure out how to do things better. And I have some ideas about how to do things better at the Port of Olympia.
Okay, Joe, the last word on should the marine terminal be closed and the property sold or redeveloped for other uses in the near term?
I'm a strong advocate, as I mentioned, of the continuation of the shipping terminal, the marine terminal. What I favor is development of benchmarks. We've got 75 ports in the state. About 10 of them are very similar to our port. So let's not just say, we need to make X amount of dollars per year. How are we doing relative to other ports in the state of Washington? Because it is a public-private entity. So we need to take that into account. Benchmarks, just like in your business, what are the goals of the port? Speaking of goals, the strategic plan, which I've been paying a lot of attention to, my opponent has mentioned it a couple times. They've got 9 bullets, but they don't say increase or have a certain level of increase in the marine terminal activity. In any business, as we all know, we're looking to grow our business. And so we need to have that for the port, at least in that private enterprise segment of the port. So I'm very bullish about the port, and I'm in favor of those benchmarks. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we get to the 1-minute wrap-up from each of the candidates, we again, just like the City Council, the infamous lightning round. So we want you to be a little snappier than the Olympia City Council candidates. So we'll do a quick test question. Are we in downtown Lacey? All right, good. So now here we go. Question number 1. Should the port be making decisions about what products can be shipped through the terminal based on politics? Number 2, do you support a marine fueling dock at the port? Public marine fueling dock at the port. Number 3, do you have any objections to shipping military cargo through the port? Number 4, should the lake be converted to an estuary? Number 5, will sea level rise be a significant factor in your decision-making during your term in office?
Maybe.
Number 6, is the port's long-term strategy sound? And the last lightning round question, is the port's current management doing a good job? All right, thank you. And with that, we will start with Jerry for your last 1-minute closing comment.
I did the opening comment first. Is that okay?
The way my list works. So
all right. I love being first. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for turning out this evening. I know that it's been a really, really great evening for all of us up here. It's really nice to hear these questions, and it's great to see all of your smiling and concerned faces out there. The port, as I said, is the biggest economic driver in our area and a nexus for sustainability and growth. Environmental stewardship and economic vitality don't have to be mutually exclusive terms. The port is in a unique position to advance that agenda, from creating a food storage facility and commercial kitchen complex for South County farmers to a state-of-the-art marine fuel dock to encourage more clean tourism spending throughout our area. I'm not new to this process. For decades, I've volunteered in our community to improve our quality of life, helping charities raise money and serving on transportation, tourism, and policy boards. I prepared myself to be able to see the whole picture, to protect our environment and our quality of life, to help create jobs, and help us work and work together. I'd like to work with you to create a shared vision for our port. I'm Jerry Farmer. Please vote for me for Port Commissioner.
Thank you very much. EJ, your 1 minute comment, closing comment, please.
I've volunteered for many years to strengthen our neighborhoods, farms, environment, and economy. I serve on the Port of Olympia's Advisory Committee for New Market Economic Development. I'm the chair of Thurston County's Agriculture Committee. I have a PhD in physics, and I know how to get the job done. I know from experience that the Port of Olympia can and must do better. Incubator hubs can help local businesses develop and thrive. Farmers need a food distribution center. Investors want places for new energy projects. These are just a few of the economic development opportunities the port could help create if we elect commissioners who can see past the old business as usual. Our taxes must be used for the public good, not short-term profits for a few. I'll insist on economic investment that serves the whole community and enhances our local opportunities. I'd appreciate your vote so that I can serve you as Port Commissioner. Vote Zita for Port.
Great, thank you. Joe, your 1 minute closing comment, please.
Thank you again to WOBA, the ODA, for supporting this forum for us. You're voting for a person, not just a position. 5 words: calm. I'm calm in the face of adversity, difficult conversation. That means I'm going to be a good partner to discussion. I'm collected, meaning anything I do, I want to have my facts together and know the background of the issue. I'm determined, meaning I really believe we can do better with this port. It's time for a change. I've got the skills for the job. Business background, state background, working on the Port of Olympia Advisory Committee. So I've got those skills. And finally, and almost most important, I've got such a passion for the port. I love the port. I love all 5 business units. I'm ready to get in there and get things done. I'm just so excited. 1 month from now, November 3rd, check that Joe Downing box, and I thank you.
Thank you, George. The final word.
Thank you very much to everyone and for the sponsors. I want to say that on the blue card that I passed around, it talks about updating our SEPA plan. I moved to appoint Michelle Morris. We just completed that last Monday night. It's now been adopted. We've got our new SEPA plan on the books. I'm proud of that. Tourism, I'm a strong supporter of it. Workforce development for our younger citizens. I want to do a partnership with the Economic Development Council and the 5-County Pacific Mountain Workforce Development Council because I think we can train our young people in the new and incoming industries, in the green industries. I want to correct Ms. Vida. The crane only cost us $3.8 million. It wasn't what the number she said. And Weyerhaeuser is paid 1/3 of the cost of our stormwater treatment facility because they're generating the bark dust. So,
thank you, George.
Thank you.
So, let's give the candidates a round of applause. We'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening and taking so much time out of your day to come and become educated about the issues and the candidates. We'd also like to thank and acknowledge the Olympia Downtown Association, the West Olympia Business Association, and the Thurston County Chamber for helping to sponsor and put this on. We'd like to remind folks, give them a round of applause. I'd like to remind folks that on Wednesday, October 14th, the Thurston County Chamber is hosting a candidates forum starting at 11:30 up at the Red Lion Hotel up on the west side. There, all the candidates that are running for office will be hopefully available to speak with you, and then they'll have a special forum, I believe, around the port candidates. The final thing, all of the candidates are working really hard to get your attention. They want you to vote. We want you to vote. It's a better community when everyone votes. So please, do not let their time and energy go to waste. Remember to vote when you receive your ballot. We'll all benefit from that greatly. So thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Give it another big hand for Doug Ma, ladies and gentlemen.